This episode of PodCRASH is brought to you by Spirit Hoods. You don't have to enjoy cosplay to love a Spirit Hood. Spirit Hoods are like a warm, fuzzy hat with ears that includes a scarf and mittens. Fashionable in the cold or in the evening, they come in styles for men, women, and kids, and in animal styles like gray wolf, red fox, tiger, snow leopard, and panda. Go to spirithoods.com, enter the offer code PodCRASH, you'll get 15% off your order. Spirit Hoods, join the tribe. And now, on with the show. Welcome to the show, folks. I am that Chris Gore. This is PodCRASH. Lots to talk about today. First of all, the Oscars. Boring, as predicted. My once-a-year prediction came true, and there weren't a lot of surprises, except for me, that I felt that Martin Scorsese should have gotten more love. Okay, moving on. I realized something kind of embarrassing. I work at this place, G4, where you know, I do this show, Attack of the Show. And I've been doing this podcast now since last year, November. And I realize not one person I work with has listened to this show. Not Kevin Pereira, not Candace Bailey, not my producer of the DVD Day segment, Sean Jordan, not Matt Myra, who I am a big fan of and work with now. And congratulations on his new gig doing Gadget Prawn. But nobody. It's an embarrassment. And I got this new intern working for me, and he's doing some stuff. And in the spirit of doing something good and trying to promote PodCRASH, somehow our Facebook fan page sent a blast through all my emails, which went to 50 times to every person at G4, and it was people were complaining they were getting like 30 emails a second. Never click on one of those things where you're supposed to connect your account and send an email blast through your. It never works. It always ends up being bad. But I realized through the course of this that no one listens to this show. So if you're listening to this and you work at G4, I don't care if you're an intern, if you're one of the producers, if you're one of the people I work with on camera, and you're actually listening to this. Just mention that you heard this, and I'll give you a T-shirt. I know that seems really lame, actually. I'll give you a T-shirt? That sucks. How about I owe you a beer? Something better. A beer and a T-shirt. That works. I just want some indication from the people I work with they're actually listening. Someone's listening. I know you're listening, and I appreciate you doing that. Before we get on with this week's Crash, it's a good one, folks. I got to tell you, I'm doing this for free, but I love it. But there's a way you can support the show, and that's purchase a copy of my short film, Red. It's about the infamous 2 bar tapes and the bartender, Red. He's tortured by prank phone calls. You know, is out there alcoholic here? You can get Red now on DVD. It's loaded with extras, including behind-the-scenes commentary. There's even a drunk commentary. You'll hear me drunk doing a commentary on this classic cult short film. Go to Etsy.com, that's ETSY.com, search for Red DVD, enter the offer code PodCRASH, and you'll get 50% off. 50% off the DVD. I've got only one box of these DVDs left, folks. That's it. Like, after this box is sold, I don't have any more left. So, and I'm not going to make any more DVDs because I think we're all going towards download. So go to Etsy.com today, look up Red DVD. You'll find my store. It's Chris Gore's Love Spray. I know. It's called Chris Gore's Love Spray. It's the name of my shop. The crash today is the Geek Generation, which is perfect that we're doing this today because I'm going to Lead Up. It does tie in, folks. It does tie in. Lead Up is Kevin Pereira's brainchild. It is a Lollapalooza of all things geek, classic arcade games, podcasts, and there'll be guests there like, of course, Pereira, Kevin Smith, Chris Hardwick, a lot of folks, Doug Benson. It's a virtual orgy of, it's pretty much guys now that I look at the lineup. It's pretty much just dudes. God, I hope that's not the case. I hope a lot of girls show up to this thing. But leadup.com, if you go to leadup, that's LEET.com, leadup.com. It's taking place at the Nokia Theater in downtown LA. I'll be there, and I know that Lead Up is going to be touring They're looking at dates in Chicago and whatnot. It's going to be a cool and fun event. I'm excited to be a part of the very first one, the Virgin lead up, so to speak. And you can find information about this on the interwebs. By the time you listen to this, it'll probably be over. But if you're hearing this and there's still time, it's today, March 1st. That's when I'm recording this, Thursday, March 1st. In fact, I got to get ready to go to it. Today's crash is the Geek Generation, a group of dudes that put together this fun podcast. It's really just sort of all things geek, and it's put together by Rob Valois, is the main host, Mike Volpe, Brian Lipsitz. You can go to thegeekgeneration.com. They're also on Twitter at Geek Generation. I had so much fun on this podcast. They really, some of these podcasts, I've been doing a lot of them now, and I got to say, they vary in quality. You've got some ones where the audio quality is not there. You've got ones where I've discovered that some of these people don't prepare. So in a way, they're a lot like me. I've got this little outline, and then I get some notes scribbled here and there. But these guys really came up with some good stuff. It was an amazing conversation. We talk about everything from Star Trek, Batman, just PS3. It's all over the map. Is a lot of fun, and I can't wait for you to hear it. It was just a blast. They actually run it kind of like it's almost like a game show. There's like they asked me some questions, and it ended up being so much. I think it's the most fun I've had in a podcast. I gotta hand it to Rob, Mike, and Brian. Great job, you guys. Really, it's a podcast I will be listening to again. Before we get to that, one last quick announcement. Saturday, March 17th, I will be at WonderCon. WonderCon is in Anaheim, California this year. If you go to comic-con.org, you can get information about WonderCon. WonderCon normally takes place in San Francisco. This year it's in Anaheim, California. I'm doing a panel on Saturday, March 17th at 7 p.m. In room 213. It's called Wild Cartoon Kingdom, and I'm going to be presenting early footage from some of these animated shows I've been telling you about. Some of them you know about, some of them you don't. I'm not going to say anything, but there is a great lineup of guests. Nikki Hunter's going to be on the panel, Mary Swain. I just found out Sarah Underwood is actually going to join the panel because we're debuting, it'll be the world premiere of the trailer for Fetishville. So you are going to want to be there if you can, and a lot of free giveaways. Saturday, March 17th, 7 p.m., Anaheim, California. And then afterwards, we're going out drinking. I can promise you that. We are absolutely going out drinking because I think that's St. Patrick's Day, right? I mean, I'm part Irish too, so this is my holiday. I can't think of a better day to have the panel, and then right afterwards, we're heading to the bar somewhere in Anaheim. It's probably going to end up being a hotel bar, but I will let everyone there know. And there's a possibility, I'm trying to hook this up right now, there's a possibility that this panel will be streamed live on the internet. I'm trying to make that happen. So if you're not going to WonderCon, keep track my Twitter feed, and then the Twitter feed for Fetishville. It's FETISHVIL. Why do I always spell it? Because some people spell it wrong, like Farmville. It's not Farmville. It's just FetishVIL on Twitter and whatnot. So look that up. It's going to be fun. And my favorite part of going to these cons is just hanging out with people in the lobby and just having insane conversations. And we're all connected by our love of geekdom, and we have passions for things that are all over the map. And that's just what I love about geeks. They're my kind of OCD, ADD. I'm definitely burdened with that. So come to the panel, afterwards partying. All right. Let's get to this week's Crash, the Geek Generation. I've already told you a little bit about it. So much fun and revealing. I'm pitted in the course of this podcast. I am dealt a card and asked a question that's impossible. It's an F, Marry, Kill with some of my female coworkers. Hope you dig it. Here it is, the Geek Generation.
Joining us all the way from California via Skype, we're being PodCRAShed because G4 and Attack of the Show's silver-haired cinephile Chris Gore is here with us. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing great, Rob. Thanks for that intro. Yeah, you are being PodCRAShed.
We are being PodCRAShed, and we love every second of it.
Thanks for having me on the show.
We do have several games we'd love to play with you, some of them related to G4 as well as just your general geeky interests, if you like to play some of those.
Let's play them.
All right. Our first one is a game we like to call Top 3, and I know how much you hate ranking stuff and lists, but I think if I tie a little Batman into it, maybe it will make up for that.
Let's go.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
So basically in top 3, I give you a category and you just give me the top 3 in no particular order because why put that pressure on you?
Right.
So your top 3 favorite Batman villains, because he has such a great rogues gallery that, I mean, obviously most people say the Joker right away, but there are so many great ones, and I'm very curious as to what your 3 favorite might be.
Well, you should ask that question, top 3, but the Joker cannot be on the list because the Joker will always be number 1.
It's true. It's true. We could play it that way if you'd like to. Let's eliminate Joker in next 3 then.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The next 3 after the Joker. You got to go Catwoman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because with Catwoman, there's always that sexual tension. Plus the fact that, like, what's funny about Catwoman is that character has changed so much throughout the years.
Very true.
You know, like now they've made her into kind of a cat burglar, you know, that's solo. But like in the TV show, she had all these, you know, the sort of minions, you know, they always seem to have like these people working for them. You know, you can't do everything. You need minions. If you're going to be a supervillain, you have to have people working for you. You got to have someone to go to the grocery store. You need supplies.
True.
So Catwoman's got to be on the list. Riddler, I'd love to see. Riddler would be on my list just because I feel like Riddler's like someone, and I don't think he's ever been portrayed well. I mean, there was sort of like I actually kind of like what Jim Carrey did, the way he did it, just sort of over the top insanity. But the fact that I would just like to see the Riddler done right. I'm saying I like the Riddler as a character, never been done right.
I think the best portrayal so far as media goes, was the 90s animated series had him, and had most of the characters down to a T on there.
Absolutely, which would lead me to say next, of course, Two-Face. Two-Face being and what was great is seeing Two-Face come out in the Batman animated series, actually start as Harvey Dent.
Absolutely.
Later knowing what was going to happen. I mean, they did that animated series so well. I feel like everything that's come beyond it, including Batman Beyond, just hasn't been as interesting. You know, the character I care about, this is, and I've complained about this before, but I care about that character. Do different takes on that character. I don't care about the extended family of that character. Well, Batman's nephew is going to be the new Batman, but he is the Batman who I don't care. I care about Bruce Wayne, and that's it.
Which is odd to me because I've heard you say that The Dark Knight is the best of the films, and yet compared to Batman Begins, The Dark Knight is so much more focused on the villain aspect, I think, than Bruce and his journey to Batman.
That's true, but I will say that The Dark Knight would not be nearly as good. I could not have said that if it weren't for Batman Begins. And Batman Begins is the only time that we've ever seen, I think, Bruce Wayne's origin done correctly. It's the Bruce Wayne movie.
Very true.
I'm so glad that Christopher Nolan approached it that way. So that would be my top. I mean, like, look, I mean, you got Catwoman, Riddler, and Two-Face. I think those are good. Those are good top 3.
Oh, absolutely. Totally solid. Our next game here is something we call This or That. It's not something we play too often, but when we have a fantastic guest such as yourself, we throw it at them. Basically, I have 6 different This or That questions. I'm going to go through them real quick, and then if you want to qualify them afterwards, then I'll give you an opportunity to do so. Okay? So the first one is Star Wars or Star Trek?
Dum-dum.
I'm going to say, and I'm going to qualify, but I'll explain. Modern Star Trek.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Zombies or robots?
Zombies.
Live action or cartoon?
Ooh. I'm going to say cartoon.
Yeah. Emma Frost or Power Girl? I thought I'd get you on this one. Power Girl?
Power Girl.
All right. Xbox or PlayStation?
Oh, Xbox.
All right.
Shut up, Mike. Avengers or Justice League?
I'm going to say Justice League.
Alrighty. So let's go back. Star Wars or Star Trek? You said modern Star Trek specifically, as in the J.J. Abrams?
Absolutely. You took the words out of my mouth. The J.J. Abrams Star Trek is the reinvention. I mean, I really think that he did such a great job by paying tribute to the older Star Trek, while also like telling a story that was compelling. And he made a Star Trek movie for people who do not like Star Trek.
It's true.
You don't need to like Star Trek to watch the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie, because we never knew like what Captain James T. Kirk's backstory was. You know, it does help to have some sort of context to why did he join Starfleet. You know, that's when I actually do care about the extended family, only as it relates to the main character. Mm-hmm. What got him in that position, and by retelling their stories in a different way, he was able to basically pay tribute. He basically found a way to get around fans that are obsessed with canon.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was so brilliantly written, like just doing the offshoot, and then it's still in continuity, but a little off continuity.
Right. And the thing is this, I've always been a Star Wars guy. I've always been a Star Wars guy because I always thought like Star Wars fans were way more fun, didn't care about science as much, and just sort of it was just more of a fun universe to play in. And Star Trek, people get too obsessed with the science of it or the canon, or, well, this happened, you know, that Yeoman Rand in the novelizations. Or in the animated series, who cares?
And yet you know who Yeoman Rand is.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but, well, she was on the show.
Yeah.
I only care about it, to me, when it comes to canon. I only care about what happens in the movies or even in the TV shows. But even with that, there are too many Star Trek series. I mean, by the time they got to Deep Space Nine, which was like the ghetto Star Trek series, I just thought it was weird. We're not in a starship. We're just on a space station, and we're kind of in the ass end of the universe. So not a lot's going to happen. But, you know, we'll go to the bar a lot, and there'll be trouble. So write some stories related to that. I mean, I as soon as they did Deep Space Nine, I said, okay, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, you can make more aliens with things on the bridge of their nose. I don't care.
Very true.
So the modern Star Trek, and then it's also in contrast to what has happened with Star Wars. I really feel like Star Wars as a franchise is diminished in light of fan reaction, negative reaction to the prequels, and they just keep diluting the brand.
Sure.
And I think what's funny is my girlfriend Mary Forrest, who's also like a huge nerd, she tweeted once. This is one of my favorite tweets of hers. She says, "In 50 years, Star Wars will be a Burger King commercial." And I said to her, 50 years? How about like 10 years? Like, there are going to be kids, your kids. I'm telling you, Rob, remember I said this.
All right.
I don't know. Rob, Mike, Brian, remember, your grandkids are going to, as you're sitting there on the stoop in your hover rocking chair, and you're going to be sitting there and they're going to say, "Oh, Star Wars, that's my favorite Burger King commercial."
Right.
You're going to see, "Listen, Sonny, I remember when that was a movie." "Oh, Grandpa, you're crazy. It's a Burger King commercial, and it's my favorite one." I completely stand by that statement. I think when you're looking at the marketing currently for the 3D incarnation of Episode 1, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, when I saw the campaign for it, I thought this is just back to the whole thing where they're getting these, like Brisk Tea did some promotion where it's so complicated you have to go to a website and all this stuff is just not worth what the actual experience ends up being. And I will admit, I did not see the 3D Star Wars Episode 1. I couldn't bring myself to go to the theater because once you get over the fact that it's in 3D, suddenly you have to sit there and watch Star Wars Episode 1. Which is the least satisfying experience of all of the Star Wars films. So I didn't go, but everyone I heard who went said the 3D was not that great, that it was just, you could barely tell that it was 3D, and that even when you took off the glasses, it wasn't even that blurry. So, you know what? I'd rather see something I'd rather see it in IMAX. You know, fill out the other parts of the screen or something. I don't know. Lucas loved to do that. More robots flying around. But I think one of my favorite pieces of, because I do own some Star Wars stuff, like a lot of you. And what I like to do is I like to get something that's a mod, something that's completely original. I actually have a George Lucas action figure in the original, 12, that style, that 12 card back. And he's got he's so funny. He's got a plaid shirt. So that's a mod. And then I actually kept. I have one piece of memorabilia from episode 1. It's Jar Jar fruit roll-ups, and the flavor is watermelon. Yeah, make of that what you will. Okay, back to Rob Valois, Mike Bryan, and the gang at the Geek Generation.
Live action or cartoon? You went with cartoon.
Well, I feel like things also like what constitutes live action and cartoon these days. The lines are being blurred because so much is being is just sort of blending. I mean, when you look at like the Star Wars prequels, those are practically cartoons. Yeah. So much of the environments and the characters, General Grievous, you know, I mean, they're all animated. And my theory is that in the future, George Lucas is going to make a third Star Wars trilogy,
which would be great. I mean, as much as we all complain about the prequels, everyone wants to see it.
Right. Well, what's funny is that, you know, that 20th Century Fox actually did a survey of moviegoers before Lucas made the prequels and said, would you like to see, the prequel adventures of Anakin Skywalker and a young Obi-Wan Kenobi? Or would you like to see sequels to Star Wars with the continuing adventures of Han, Luke, and Leia? And it was overwhelmingly like 80% like Han, Luke, and Leia. And Lucas was like, nah, I'd rather make the prequel.
And that's why no one will ever get their way on taking the no out of the...
Well, Fox was trying to convince George, like, don't make the prequels. You can make the prequels later, but you got to make sequels now while Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford are at an age where they can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's my theory. Lucas is going to make a third Star Wars trilogy. Mm-hmm. There'll be 3 films. It will be 100% digital, and it'll have humans in it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Digital humans. Here's also why. He'll own everything.
That's true. That's very true. There's no one to complain or change or...
Think about it, like when these actors sign these deals, every time there's a novelization, a Star Wars novelization, and it has Mark Hamill on the cover, he has to get a residual for that because they're using his likeness. Mm-hmm. So the reason Lucas is so fond of aliens, robots, and masked characters like Boba Fett, and Darth Vader is he owns it. He doesn't have to give David Prowse an extra penny. And Darth Vader was played not just by David Prowse, but by, I forget the guy, the swordsman.
Right,
who's
like
done a lot
3
of
different people, right? Like sword, voice, and acting.
Right, which is cool. But Lucas just wants to, he's a guy who, he wants to play with all the toys. He doesn't want to share his toys.
Right. And like you said, cartoons are definitely taking over. Like you look at something like Green Lantern that was almost, like 90% CGI, and then add to that the cartoony performance from Ryan Reynolds, and you have a 100% cartoon movie right there.
It's cartoon in the sense that they didn't even need Ryan Reynolds' body.
No, not at all.
We just need the head.
I know. What's the point?
Technically, we only need about 80% of it because we're going to cover it with a mask and glowing eyes and... He
probably did this crazy workout regimen, and then they're like, we're just going to cover it up with digital stuff anyway, so don't worry about it.
No, it was weird. Yeah, like, I don't know. But that's a complaint for another, for another podcast.
Emma Frost or Power Girl? You went with Power Girl.
Only because I know Carrie Keegan.
That's what I figured. And she makes a good Keegan Power Girl.
She fills out the suit well.
Very well, very well. Can't argue with that at all.
Yeah.
Xbox, you're an Xbox guy.
I've always been an Xbox guy. I prefer it. Here's my main complaint with the PS3. I mean, Xbox to me just works. You turn it on if there's an update, it just updates.
True.
I don't need to do anything. It's like, oh, there's an update. And updates are generally, with the exception of the new OS every year, they're generally short, quick, painless experience. My PS3, the game I play the most is firmware update.
It's a fun game.
I have played the game firmware update on the PS3 probably every month I turn it on.
But I always win.
Yeah, exactly. I win that game, so I'm not dissatisfied. But the drag about it, too, is that, like, even as a Blu-ray player, people say, oh, it's a great Blu-ray player. No, it's not. It's too loud. I mean, the system in it, because it runs so hot, it really adds, like, what's that room tone? It's like, oh, yeah, that's added to my 5.1. My 5.1 system becomes a 6.1 system with the PS3 whirring. and the drag also with the PS3, and I also feel this is not just a complaint with the PS3. This is my complaint with Sony.
Oh.
Everything it's almost as if Sony is, well, it is actually technically, it's run by lawyers. there's more legal language. I don't know how many times I have agreed to a terms of agreement of something, to play a game, to log on to something, to agree to their new OS or their new firmware update. I'm always agreeing with things. And even when you look at the Blu-rays, which, I could talk about minor complaints and rants about DVDs all day, there's all this legal language when you start to watch all the extras on a Sony disc. There's disclaimers about the commentary. There's legal language at the end of every special feature that's just, it's pages and pages of legal language, and it's intrusive to the user experience. The user experience, and I think that Microsoft has been much more responsive when it comes to this, is get them in and get them playing. Immediately get them playing. The legal stuff, it's there. It's on the packaging. I don't need it interrupting my TV screen. And I've already given you money. And the sort of push marketing that they do with Sony, all their Blu-rays, they have a little ticker that comes up that will tell you what new stuff is out. I mean, I disconnected one of my Blu-ray players from the internet just so I can watch them clean, because I don't want that intrusive screen to come up every time I get to a menu screen on a Sony Blu-ray.
Sure.
It's irritating. So I'm really not a Sony fan. It's not that I'm not a fan of their content. I mean, there's some great games. There's great. I'm looking forward to The Amazing Spider-Man. But the people putting together the user experience and the packaging, which is really important, they irritate the hell out of me.
Yeah, I admit that is not one of Sony's best areas. See, I always thought it was a good Blu-ray player, but I do have that whir with the older systems. The Slim has fixed that quite a bit, but
right.
I don't know if people, I think at that point, most people probably would have given up.
I agree. It's you can get a Blu-ray player for less than $100 at Target.
Yeah, right. True. And lastly, Avengers versus Justice League.
Well, here that's an easy. Batman is in the Justice League.
That's true.
That's a pretty easy thing. I mean, like the Avengers. Look, I like the Avengers, but there's some like Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Wait, let me save the day. I'll shoot my arrow. Okay, when I was on that podcast, obviously I had not yet seen the brand new Marvel Avengers trailer, which actually debuted this week, and it looks really kick-ass. But I really do look at it and I wonder, like, hey, like after we get over the fact that, like, okay, we have all these heroes in one room together, they're all going to do stuff and use their powers, they're going to disagree on things, they're going to have clever quips back and forth. Is it really going to work as a story and as a movie? And I was just a little concerned that they're going the whole, we're going to fight a bunch of robots thing with the giant robot thing that looks like out of the last Transformers movie. But who knows? Now, I this is perfect. I'm so geeky. Just hearing myself talk about this stuff, I'm going, oh my God, how did I ever have sex once? I'm actually working on a book right now. Mm-hmm. It's called Celebrities Poop.
Of course.
And what it is it's an exact parody of the Everyone Poops book, but it's with celebrities in it.
That's fantastic.
And I'm not making this up. I'm actually going to, because I'm working on a comedy CD, so I'm not sure if I include it in the comedy CD as like a bonus, but it's something that I know I'll definitely have when I'm at Comic-Con, the Celebrities Poop book. And it's funny. It's like a parody of that book with, if you know that book, it'll be made even funnier with celebrities. But once you realize that they're really just human, I don't care. The biggest celebrity, I never get nervous. I don't care. I walk in. I'm like, yeah, they all have their own insecurities and bullshit that they deal with. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I'm sort of fearless. It just doesn't matter. And I usually set a tone. I walk in and I've got maybe 15, 20 seconds, maybe a full minute sometimes if I'm lucky, to establish a rapport. So I'll mention something that I actually did like, or I'll be honest about something like, I saw Terrence Holland from, he was in the original Iron Man.
Yes.
And then they replaced him. And I was like, dude, you were so much better in Iron Man. I think it's a huge mistake of Marvel to replace you.
Agreed.
He was like, oh, thanks. The interview went really well.
Yep.
So I'll establish a rapport. Also, it's about like just being no BS. If they know you're no BS, you're not kissing their ass. You're not blowing smoke up their ass either and telling them their movie's great when you know it's not really great. Mm-hmm. And you're just honest. I don't know. I proven I think that that's a thing that I can do well. And I have had, luckily, an opportunity to meet some really cool big celebs in doing that.
Is there anybody at all, like I know you said you don't get nervous, but is there one or two people in particular that you were just like, oh my goodness, like really starstruck just being around them?
Yes. One, Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
And it's because, let me just say, and they actually use this. I've interviewed her twice, Angelina Jolie.
Okay.
One time it was for the film Salt, and I walked in and I had I make a lot of, gosh, I wish you guys had a crafting segment. I could tell you so much about nerd crafting.
The amount of stuff that you share that has Batman logos on it is just amazing to me.
Well, that's why I started. That's why I started the Bat Chris Gore on Twitter. But also I do a lot of crafting. Like I trick out my desk, even my wardrobe. I do that old punk rock thing where I'll take my favorite T-shirt, I'll cut the design off the front, and then I'll just safety pin it to the back of a shirt or the back of a jacket.
Right.
So then I had this jean jacket that was all tattered and old and messed up and whatnot, had holes in it. And I took and I put zombie-related patches in it. One said it was the ZDF, which is the Zombie Defense Force, which I think you can find that patch on the internet. I put a zombie design on the back of the jacket, and then I had skull patches on the jacket, and I walked in to interview Angelina Jolie for Salt. And the publicist, they always say this, but I know this. They said no personal questions. I'm like, first of all, I don't care.
Yeah.
We don't care about, if you want celebrity gossip, that's another floor at Comcast. That's the E channel. They care about all that crap. I don't know who's married to who unless it comes out in the big news. First of all, secondly, I find it offensive if I'm gonna. Who cares about their personal life? I only care about the movie. Yeah. And secondly, I think it's too forward. Why would you say that to someone? It's creepy to me. I'm going to sit there and talk to Angelina Jolie about her personal life and her kids and her life with Brad Pitt like that. We don't know each other well. Now, if we're out with drinks, it comes up in conversation and it's not on the record. That's different. Mm-hmm. I'm not a gossip reporter. It's the one, I've been lucky enough where the TV jobs I've been offered actually, speak to my strengths, G4 and Festival Pass. That's incredibly lucky to these are jobs I would do. The only job I turned down in TV that I was offered, I had to think, was the gossip show on E.
Oh, geez. I
said, I can't do it. I said, I can't do that show. I would feel gross about myself. Yeah. So I'm warned as I'm walking in the room, no personal questions. I'm like, I don't even have any. I don't care. I walk in and there was some technical problem and she looks over at me and she's like, oh, that's a really nice jacket. That's really cool. So we got in this whole conversation about fashion. She totally is disarming. And Angelina Jolie is the kind of woman, she looks at you, she fucks you with her eyes.
Nice.
I mean, I'm looking at her and I feel like, oh my God, she's fucking raping me. Because she's so sexual. She's seething sex. I don't see how Brad Pitt keeps up with her. I mean, oh my God. I mean, she's so just aroused. And look, I've met and hung out with some porn stars. I'm going to be honest. Yeah. I might have dated a few porn stars in my past. They're not nearly as amazing as Angelina Jolie. She just has this aura about her, and I feel like she is a movie star in the sense that there's something about her that's classy and regal. She cares, and this is her move. I figured out what her move is. Trying to dissect it. Her move is she has, and this is what I always try to do with every celebrity when I sit down to do an interview. I try to have a moment. Mm-hmm. Personal moment. It's something I do. It's something I say. I have seconds to bond with them and then get a good interview. Yep. And Angelina Jolie turns it around and she makes it about you.
Oh, okay.
It's not about her. It's about you. And she's like, oh, that's a great jacket. And then I'm telling her about my jacket, punk rock style, whatever. And sometimes I'll wear interesting rings. And we got this whole conversation. It just was so disarming. I got nervous. Then the second time I interviewed her for a film called The Tourist, which I was lucky enough to be flown to Paris, France for that, because that's where the film takes place. Mm-hmm. I interviewed her. She looked so even more gorgeous then. And I walk in, I forgot my question as I was asking. So I stammered, and she looked at me, she's like, it's okay. Just take a breath. It's all right. It happens to her a lot.
Yeah. So, imagine what it's like to be that kind of person.
Turned it into a bit. They made me look like an idiot. They obviously extended my stammering, and they made me look like a complete moron, like I blew the interview. which, you know, I almost did. But, you know, it's like she's the kind of woman you sit down, you look, and it's like, oh, my God, she's giving me a hand job with her eyes.
Oh, that's sweet. That's a woman.
Yeah, so they basically so they made fun of me, G4 did. But I was so funny because after I did the interview with Angelina Jolie for The Tourist, I walked out in the lobby. I'm like, oh, my God. Like, everybody walks out like they've had a religious experience. Yeah. And all the media loves her. Like, all the press think, like, they would never say anything bad about her in the press because there's nothing to say, you know? Because you do ask around, you find out, like, oh, like, how's so-and-so like? Like, Bruce Willis, kind of a jerk.
Not surprising.
I can tell you a story. I'll tell you about the story about Bruce Willis after this. It's not. See, now this is turning into the gossip show.
Exactly what you didn't want.
And this is not what I wanted. But just Bruce Willis is he's just sort of a grumpy old man.
Yeah.
But so I walk out of the interview and I'm talking to this guy. I'm talking to this other fellow journalist who happens to be gay, and he's like, man, like, she is the only person I would switch teams for.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, so that was amazing. So yeah, she I love her. And I actually still love Angelina Jolie in spite of her leggy business at the Oscars. But I guess her leg now has its own Twitter account and I think it's got almost like 20,000 followers now. This is ridiculous that a stupid pop culture thing like that can just blow up. I guess we should just get used to it now. I mean, pop culture has a way of eating itself. All right. And now comes probably, this is the thing I'm going to be most embarrassed about on this podcast. Back to Geek Generation and a fun game called F, Marry, Kill.
Let's do another game then. I feel like this almost piggybacks off of the story that you just told us then. You, as a Howard fan, I'm sure you're familiar with the game F, Marry, Kill.
Hell yeah, F, Marry, Kill. I do it in my brain all the time when I'm at bars.
Fantastic.
Scoping out the girls there. I'm like, oh, yeah, F, Marry, Kill, boom.
Boom, there it is. Well, then let's get a little work related with it.
Usually I end up marrying the bartender just for the free drinks.
Yeah, there you go. What if we go with Alison Hayslip, Sara Underwood, and Olivia Munn?
Let's go with that.
All right.
Okay, Alison Hayslip, Sara Underwood, Olivia Munn. Yeah. Oh, my God. Oh, no. Look what you guys have done to me.
See, you strike me as the fearless type, though. The fearless type that will...
Tough choices.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Well, first of all, let's go with the easy one. I would kill Olivia Munn.
All right, that's what I said.
She's not on the show, and I'm not, you know... Yeah, I'll kill Olivia Munn.
Far enough away for no repercussions.
No repercussions, yeah. And the good thing is she'll be dead, so she won't be able to get revenge on me, although I will have a lifelong fear of zombie Olivia Munn. Zombie
sense.
Olivia Munn will plague me until the day I die. And then I think I would... See, now this is the thing. I would probably. I gotta say, I gotta fuck Sara Underwood. Yeah, I'm gonna fuck Sara Underwood because she is so smoking hot. I gotta tell you something. In real life, she's even hotter.
Oh my God!
I mean, you may have seen her work in Playboy, 2007 Playmate of the Year.
Perhaps.
And she's a firecracker, and also. What I love about her on Attack of the Show, because when she first started, I did some DVD days with her, and she was very nervous, you know, just being on camera, you know, and it was like her first big TV gig where she had to speak words and read things.
Yep.
And, you know, this isn't easy for some people. No, seriously, you think like, I mean, it took me some time to learn teleprompter, one time. And then I learned teleprompter. It's not that hard. So it's, oh, you mean you read, but pretend you're not reading. And then after one time of doing it, I say, yeah, I got this. But Sara was really nervous, and I feel like it's like she needed to come out of her shell. And I realize, and this is something I actually do, you know, in my real life when I was single and did not have a girlfriend and was dating around a lot. I like to say that the who gives a shit attitude is like a cologne that attracts vagina.
Yeah.
It works, man. True. If you come in with the stink of desperation on you, you're not even going to attract the girl to talk to you, much less put her mouth on your penis.
Oh, yeah.
So
Which is the ultimate goal.
Yeah, and that attitude works with me for interviewing celebrities. It works with me for doing television. I don't care, so I'll do other TV. I don't get nervous. Like, I've been doing stand-up, I get up in front of a crowd. I don't care. 10 people, 50 people, 100 people. I don't care. There's something, I don't know what it was, but something snapped in me where it's like, I just don't give a shit. I don't care. And then when you come off, now, here's the opposite. I actually do care. I come up with jokes for like DVDs Day. I'll go, that kind of works, or like this. I'll write out sort of an outline of what I'm going to say. It's like, I'll try that. So I care about my job. I care about the work. I don't care what people think of me. And I kind of feel like that's my attitude. Like as a kid, I kind of had that just when it came to people.
Yep.
And I feel like it's a great coping skill in life from the standpoint of, we teach kids all the time, you should be yourself. It's in all like children's media.
Yeah.
There's two main things that permeate, which is recycle and be yourself. Yeah. Recycle, I get. Be yourself. Hey, people usually don't know who the fuck they are until they reach the age of 30 plus.
Very true.
Just people just don't know who they are. If you know who you are, but I would add an addendum to recycle, be yourself, and don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks of you. Because if you don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks of you, you don't give anyone else power over you. And look, I sound like Tony Robbins now.
This is quite the shift in conversation.
You're going to start holding seminars.
Don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks of you. Audio cassette tapes. Just call 1-800. I'll be doing a seminar at the Marriott. It'll be the Empower Your Life. Oh, I fucking hate that shit. Anyways. But like if you don't, but the thing is this, it really ends up being a power then. You don't care, like it helps you whether it's a job interview, whether it's talking to a chick, whether it's like getting up in front of people and giving a speech. Care about the work, don't care what people think, and then you stick, I think, to your core values. But then you need to know who you are in order to be able to do that, and then you can't betray that. So I feel like that's how I've been able to build an audience over the years, is that I think people get that sense from me, Mm-hmm. That's why I think that Mitt Romney is not popular, because he looks like a freaking phony.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He looks like a freaking phony. He's so phony. He comes off fake. I feel like I bought cars from you. I didn't like you then.
He does seem like a used car salesman.
And here's the undercoating and this, and it's like, I'll say anything. And he's terrible. Although I do like the fact that he looks like Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four.
It's a solid point. All he needs is a little touch of gray.
If the whole president thing doesn't work out for him.
Yeah.
If you were just a scientist, had a hot blonde wife who could turn invisible and could stretch and wore a blue outfit with a big 4 in the middle, I'd be for Mitt Romney.
I agree.
But right now I'm not. So, but in any case, I feel like that is my philosophy. So obviously then I would marry Alison Hayslip.
Yes.
Because Alison is, first of all, Alison is fun to hang out with. Yep. She's fun. She's like a dude. I mean, in the best way, she's like a dude. She's like a dude in the sense that like she loves to game. She loves to go out and have fun. She will try and do anything. I think she's braver than I am for sure. I mean, I have those segments on Attack of the Show where she'd be like, "I'm in a shark cage. I'm doing this." I'm like, "Fuck no!" They don't send me those things because they know it would just be me not doing it well.
Shark cage versus I fucked by Angelina Jolie.
Yeah. Things that have never been heard on your show before. So I would kill Olivia Munn, I would fuck Sarah Underwood, and I would marry Alison Hayslip.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Very, very solid.
Also, the one thing is just knowing Alison, like through the years. And look, I love all three of those girls. Honestly, I love them all. I mean, Olivia. Everybody bags on Olivia just because she's a hard ass, but I feel like she's like no bullshit, That's what I love about Olivia. And Sara, just seeing her come out of her shell, she's so good on the show now. You know what I mean? Like I feel like she was so meek and timid, and then suddenly like something snapped in her and she got that thing, which is don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks of you. Mm-hmm. And once Sara figured that out, which is something you got to come to that conclusion on your own. You can't just, that statement is such a bullshit statement for me to just throw out and tell you guys.
Sure.
It just has to happen. It's a snap in your brain. She doesn't care. She's so good on the show. She's funny. She's just like, she'll do anything. She messes with people. She messes with me. I mean, like, oh my God, like just seeing the sort of blossoming of Sarah Underwood's talent's incredible. And what do you think about me killing Olivia Munn, fucking Sarah Underwood, and marrying Alison Hayslip.
I think, well, honestly, given the same choices, I think I would make the same. I know Mike Volpe here is a huge Alison Hayslip fan.
I am. I would have switched some. Munn's dead, without a doubt.
Everybody would kill Olivia.
I don't know what it is. I just don't think I could deal with her long term. I would
long term. You mean 20 minutes of your penis inside her? Okay, F, Marry, Kill is always a dangerous game to play, and I guess, God, I really should have thought of this. I could have killed Olivia Munn, which I felt guilty about. I could have killed her and married the zombie. Oh, man, 2 for 1. But I actually don't feel guilty about saying that now because she just stopped following me on Twitter. Olivia Munn stopped following me, and I feel like there's always something. It's almost like a relationship's ending. They've acknowledged, like, look, haven't seen you in a while, not sending you the Christmas card anymore, really don't give a shit what you're doing. So you know what? Fuck it. I do not care that I said that. I stand by it in my F, Marry, Kill. I'm sorry, Olivia, you're the kill. But I know we'll work together someday. I'll bet that's going to happen. All right, back to the Geek Generation. Alison is so much fun with, like, and also, like, we got in this whole conversation with Alison once. I'm like, you know, I do this segment called DVD Tuesday, right? Okay, I'm like, Alison, like, she didn't have a regular segment. I'm like, you should do a segment called Books. She's an avid reader, and me, I'm not a reader. I listen to books. Like, I'm a big audiobook guy. Like, because I spend so much time in freaking LA traffic that I started listening to books. I'm like, oh, now I don't feel so stupid, even though I just missed that exit.
And now you're going to be on the highway for another 4 hours.
Yeah, but Alison would get involved. You know, she was doing a lot of stuff because I read the books of Harry Potter, so I'm doing the Harry Potter junket. It's like, oh, well, that's cool because you know more about it and care more about it than I do. I don't care. But she's an avid reader, and I thought, you know, you should do a segment on Attack of the Show called Books. And I said, here's what you do: is you could review audiobooks, you could review books you've read, you could talk about coffee table books. Do it exactly like DVD Tuesday, you know, hosted. You bring out books, you talk about cool books. Here's this book about San Diego Comic-Con. Here's a new book about Batman. You know, because Blair Butler has, like, her Fresh Ink, which is all about comic books. I've got DVDs. I said, Alison, you have books. I said, but here's the beginning of the segment. The segment, you've got, like, a little thing where it's just, like, you and you're, like, water skiing, and you look at the camera and you say, books! And then it's like you, like, you know, underwater, there's a shark coming up to you, and you say, books! So she's doing devil horns and screaming, like, books!
That's great. Like, that's awesome.
She's riding one of those things. She's shooting a gun at a gun range. Books! Whole thing just be her reviewing books. It's just like DVD Tuesday, but a little 20-second intro with her doing crazy extreme sports or dangerous things, screaming into the camera, books.
That's
awesome.
They
didn't buy it. They didn't buy the segment.
Did she pitch it, like, and doing a whole hot librarian look too while she's doing it?
She had. Oh my God, that would have been so great. She could have worn glasses.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I feel like I'm just disappointed they never. Because it's like one of those things, they maybe don't do it every week, but every couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, books.
That'd be so good.
Alison Hayslip.
I can almost see, like, the beginning of Tim and Eric, kind of like the circle spinning up, like 70s text books.
Yeah, books, like, just like crazy, weird, but I don't know. There's a lot of things where it's like I'll have an idea for Attack of the Show, and I'll just say, hey, don't you think it'd be funny if I'll just tell it to some writer or producer at Attack of the Show, hoping that they'll just take the idea and then run with it. You know, because officially I'm not a writer on the show, but I do suggest things behind the scenes like, yeah, wouldn't it be funny if so-and-so happened? Okay, later. And the reason I do that is, look, I don't give a shit about writing credit or any of that stuff, or I don't even give a shit if I get an acknowledgement for it, because I just know that if I suggest the idea and then walk away, I don't have to do any work.
Right. No paperwork.
I can just go, oh, you know, it'd be really cool if Kevin wore like a Planet of the Apes mask and went around and wore a bikini. I don't know. But all right, see you guys. I don't have to follow through on the bit. I don't have to, like, produce it. I don't have to, like, rewrite it or pitch it around. It's like I just come up with the idea. I sort of leak it to someone else and then let them take it because I don't know. I've never been precious about ideas like that. I just don't give a crap. I'm like, I've got the ideas that I care passionately about, and it's all about execution to me. So normally if I suggest an idea, it'll end up getting fucked up anyways. I don't care. So.
It's interesting you bring up Kevin because we were talking about him earlier today, and we were saying how it's kind of a shame that he has all these like, well, I mean, it's not a shame that he has all these hot chicks around him, but he's so overshadowed by just like attractive women that nobody really gets to notice how brilliant he is at what he does. His comedic timing.
Yeah, exactly.
And
No, that's the thing is like, because I'll get questions about Kevin, like, what's he like in real life? Is that guy a douchebag? Kevin a douchebag? It's like, and I got to tell you something. He's the best guy I've ever worked with in TV.
yeah.
And I'm telling you, he's so unselfish about what he does. He's so cool about making it about the other person, or it's like, okay, I'll be the comedic element, you be the straight man. He's flipped and he's incredibly malleable. In my mind, he made Olivia Munn a star.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Because Olivia came in and he kicked ass and basically made her what she is. And I got to say, when Olivia first started, she was not good. I mean, she was nervous about reading a teleprompter. It was really clunky. And I feel like anyone, with that kind of job, I mean, look, it's live TV. If you've never done it before, it's kind of nerve-wracking. And, it's not like me. Hey, I skate in. I'm the guy you like that you don't see very much. Okay, bye. I have the best job. It's like I'm lucky that, like, I'm on just a short enough amount of time that, like, you don't get sick of me, because you would probably eventually get sick of me. But Kevin, he's so good at making other people look good, and also his off-camera demeanor sets a tone. There's no ego BS. There's no like, oh, my dressing room's bigger than your dressing room. He's not into any of that. He doesn't care. He's just like, oh, like, just use my dressing room if you gotta do what I don't care. He's not into any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think he realizes also how lucky he is to have the job that he has, and he's got like he's come from like a good family that is the guy's got his shit together. I mean, but yeah, he's like, I described he's like the Bugs Bunny of the show. He's the instigator.
Yeah, definitely.
Gets everyone else in trouble, and yeah, but I'm a big Kevin Peter fan.
Yeah, he's fantastic. This is actually a brand new segment that we haven't done before. It is inspired by a couple of our friends who I should give proper credit to, Scott C.K. Toomey and his wife Meg. They use a term called bootleg in reference to different actors and actresses in Hollywood. Bootleg. And basically the premise is that there are two people who are kind of interchangeable, but one is slightly higher on the scale than the other. So, for instance, one of the ones that comes up a lot recently is Kristen Stewart of Twilight fame, even though I don't necessarily want to talk about it. Teresa Palmer being like a bootleg Kristen Stewart, because not only does she get like interchanged with the movies that she would be in all the time, but Teresa Palmer's actually doing that Warm Bodies, like Twilight zombie-ish type movie that's coming out fairly soon. So now she's even picking up similar projects.
And they look
yes, but
very similar.
but is she good at pouting?
Or playing with her hair.
Pouter.
That's true. So
She went to the pouting school of acting. Twilight pieces of shit.
So I don't know if you have any of those, but I have a couple
yes,
of them.
It's like, I would say that, no, does it matter who came first?
Not
No,
really.
no,
It's kind of who's more prominent and then who would be the bootleg of them. And it can switch over time. So
It did definitely switch. For example, I would say that Justin Long is a bootleg of Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
solid.
Oh, that's a great one.
Solid.
That's a great one.
Yeah, I mean, like those guys, they both have that sort of like hair that's kind of weird, stringy hair. They both are good at comedy, and they're capable of also doing drama. They're very malleable, and they're both bite-sized. This week. Thanks again for listening. I really want to thank Rob, Mike, and Brian from the Geek Generation. Check them out at thegeekgeneration.com and at Geek Generation on Twitter. And, every week I say it's the end of the show, but people who really listen carefully, know that we're kind of playing with the medium of podcasts, and what you think is the end may not. And if you listen really carefully, like a lot of people do, you may benefit, like winning some free stuff and DVDs. I also want to get in some plugs for the show. Follow us on Twitter at PodCRASH Show, me at that Chris Gore. Visit our Facebook fan page. Give us a like, facebook.com/PodCRASH. And if you're on iTunes, give us a 5-star review if you think we deserve it. I really am just enjoying all the feedback here. It helps us make the show even better. Some great comments by Evan Wise Guy, who says, I should have my own show on film at G4. If I had a nickel for every time someone told me that, I actually would be rich at this point. I pretty much hear that every day. It's not my network, folks, but there's always the internet. Kenneth Trainer also has some great things to say. He says that I'm an extremely open-minded host with a good sense of humor. Well, thank you for that. Thank you, Kenneth. And Skull Princess says, all the fun of podcasting without all the messy details. Hilarious. Thanks for all the comments on iTunes. Post a review, 5 stars if you think we deserve it, and a comment. Maybe I'll read it on the show. So that's it. And I will be joined this week by my intern, Wes, who's going to help me out saying the thing we say at the end of every show. And that is a real simple, let's get out of here!
Captain James C. Kirk of the USS Enterprise. Your ship is compromised, too close to the singularity to survive without assistance, which we are willing to provide.
Captain, what are you doing?
Show them compassion may be the only way to earn peace with Romulus. It's logic, Spock. Thought you'd like that.
No, not really. Not this time.
I would rather suffer the end of Romulus 1,000 times. I would rather die in agony than accept assistance from you.
You got it. Arm phasers, fire everything we've got.
Yes, sir.
Hey, if you're still listening to this, you're probably a lot like me. You're the kind of person who watches the entire end credits of a movie. I like you. We're a lot alike. And for that, you shall be rewarded. The first 5 people to go to facebook.com/podcrash and post "Let's Get Out of Here" will win a free DVD. That's right, a free DVD. But you gotta go to facebook.com/podcrash, like the page, post "Let's Get Out of Here," and then I'll send you a free DVD. It's easy as that. Do it. Later.